Hi everybody, welcome to HCA Goes Live. I'm Charlotte, editor at Hairdressers Journal, and today I'm joined by Erica Liburd, who's founder of Texture Unravelled, and today's session is supported by the NHBF. They have just released a survey, which is called The Analysis of the Trends Within the Hair and Beauty Industry by Ethnicity Across the UK, which is the first of its kind to be undertaken in the industry. And I'm really pleased to welcome Erica today for our live, as we're going to be discussing some of the findings of the survey. Hey, Erica.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm really well, thank
Great.
you. How are you?
I am very well. I am very excited about the whole report and everything that's happening. So it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon, shall I say.
I know, I nearly said good morning too. I was like, after midday, gets me every time. So the NHBF has done this report. It's very comprehensive. There's lots of data and there's lots of statistics, and we are going to be discussing kind of 5 key areas. But to kick things off, it'd be great if you could chat to people a little bit about your Texture Unravelled campaign and your work up to this point, and a little bit about you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the Texture Unravelled campaign it's a campaign to promote awareness and a call to action so that colleges, academies and salons can actively integrate themselves into textured hair so that everybody has a fair and inclusive opportunity to learn about textured hair. So that's what the Texture Unravelled campaign and education platform is about. And that was from my personal experience getting into hairdressing as a career from 17 and not being able to learn about textured hair in regards to like curls and afro hair and such. I did struggle at the beginning of my career to source the education. Eventually I did, which was great, but that was 27 years ago. And I'm still hearing and seeing there's quite a little bit of difficulty accessing education. So based on my lived-in experience and seeing what's happening in the industry, I was like, okay, this is time now where we need to actively seek to do something about it. And so it's just fantastic that the NHBF have this ethnicity report, because it no longer sees me as being a Black woman talking about texture, but it's actual factual evidence that backs up, my lived experience and how we should move forward. Great. So that's me in a nutshell.
A wonderful nutshell, thank you. So the diversity report from the NHBF. So you've been involved with the NHBF, kind of in an advisory capacity, as I understand it. And although you haven't been involved in creating this report, that is the job of absolute data gurus and people who reach a lot of people and get a lot of data. We're just going to discuss kind of 5 key areas that the report has identified. So the first one is growth trends. So the report showed that the hair and beauty sector has experienced growth in locations with a larger proportion of Black British, Caribbean or African communities. However, the overall market share across Great Britain has declined slightly over the past 5 years. So how can we unpack that without speculating too much, because this is raw data. We haven't interviewed anyone for this. We don't know any personal experience. What can we gather from that fact?
Well, if I go back in history a little bit, just to understand why and how these growth trends come about. So if you're looking at the Windrush era, which is around 70 years ago, when Black Caribbean people came here post-war Britain, there was nowhere to go. There was no salons to go that would understand your hair type, the culture and the necessities of those Black people coming in. So you'd find pockets of communities doing hair at home. So they would do each other's hair, all the services that they used to have in. So that's continued to this day, actually. It's very common that you'll find those communities doing their hair at home. And the few that go into the professional arena, go into college and finding units, are very few, but then they haven't got the necessary resource all the time to be able to build upon the business and grow it. And then you're getting the cultural aspect of it as well. So there's not many places for you to go and have access to products and support. So that's where you can see the disparity with the trends and the growth rate.
Well, thank you for sharing that. The second point that was made by the report is regarding the Asian ethnic kind of groups. So hair and beauty locations that are in Asian or Asian British postcode sectors have seen growth again over the past 5 years. And again, it's the same picture. The overall market share has reduced during the same period. And there seems to be a kind of a pattern develop here. There's growth, but market share has reduced. What would you comment upon that finding?
I will say, I mean, it's slightly different from the Windrush comparison, but it's a similar thing in terms of having the education. We know that necessity is there. We need places to go because the salons in Britain at the moment are not quite cross-culturally competent to be able to offer services. So having them open their own salons to cater for their communities is great, but it's the support from the industry to help them grow and to recognize areas that they need support in, whether it's financial support, whether it's from an educational support in terms of understanding the industry and services. It's a similar thing. It's a similar thing. And a lot of the time, you're not finding many Black and Asian kind of in salons integrating within salons. So it's very much Asian, Black, Caucasian. They're quite separate. So it's finding ways to integrate everybody. And it's starting from the college, it's starting from the academies and getting about hairdressing from the back end to the front of house, and to be able to grow and to be able to, you know, introduce students and apprentices into the salons to help build. So it's a similar thing, but the cultures may be slightly different. But it's definitely a similar pattern happening.
Yeah, I really appreciate your point about it starts in the colleges, and obviously we know that the National Occupation Standards, it's become a legal requirement to teach all textures and all hair, but it's the trickle down effect, isn't it? Because there's a big proportion of stylists, people who are owning the salons, the business decision makers in the salon, they might not have been taught textured hair education, different hair types at college, which is not to say they, you know, there's ways that they can still be educating themselves on courses now. You know, learning never stops. Hairdressers love to learn. But I can totally understand why there's that gap there as well.
To go on for what you've just mentioned, we have the standards there now, and it was great. It was it June last year? We was informed that this was happening. June 22.
1 or 22.
So, and that was fantastic. So it's in there in the standards. But what's happening, again, there's not the fair and inclusive opportunity, because if you're looking at the colleges and academies and salons across the UK, if they don't have a competent educator that has the necessary skills, then they're not able to teach it. So then those students are not able to carry those skills on into the salons and then become salon managers themselves and integrate all those hair types. So there's still this break in the education that's having like I said, a trickle effect down.
What was the phrase that you used, Erica? Was it back of house? You want to get your like foundations, like the
so it's like, you know, when you become a hairstylist, you're on the floor, everything's about on the floor, so in the salon space. But when you become a manager, you're having to learn back of house, so the systems and everything like that, your figures and all of that, all the way through to the salon floor where you're managing the staff and the services and the guests that are coming in. And so if you've not had that experience through education and having a mentor, and you're coming from your home environment, then it's going to be very hard to build a successful business if you've not had that foundation in learning, and for myself, being a freelance, going from being employed to freelance to owning my own business, it was only through NHBF that I actually was mentored and learned how to do that. And if I didn't have that resource, I don't think I would be where I am today, if I'm totally honest. Definitely not.
Yeah, that's a really valuable point.
Yeah.
The next key focus was commenting upon a slowdown in growth in 2022 for all ethnic groups, as market saturation and increased competition for local spending became more prominent factors. This one feels like it's pointing towards the effects of the pandemic, the effects of the cost of living crisis. What are your thoughts?
I definitely agree with that. It was hard for everybody. But if you haven't got support from brands, colour houses, people like NHBF that are there to help you and be that go-between you and the government for grants and funding and things like that, it is very difficult. People have moved out of their local areas. People are having to travel hours to get their hair done. And so that, along with the cost of living, lack of education, which I have to go back to again, there's a lack. And if you haven't got the sustainability to be able to function as a salon, already being a minority, there's not much room for growth and expansion within that, because you're not going to the events, you're not networking, so you're not understanding the industry as a whole. So it makes it very, very hard. And also with cost of living, if Asian or the Black communities that are opening salons are struggling with cost of living, and you've got somebody doing hair from home at a fraction of the price, the community is going to go to somebody doing it at home at a fraction of the price. So it's actually helping to build that up so that they get the value and understand the value of services, and looking at inflation and all of those kind of things. But definitely with the pandemic, cost of living, access to services, those communities will be going to hairdressers at home.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you mentioned, it's trying to educate clients and raise the standards, or at least not even raise the standard, just show them that there's a certain standard that they can get in salons and in suitable businesses. And that's both the hairdressers and, like you said, the clients, because if the clients understand that there's a level of service and experience within salons, and that's why you're paying a little bit more because you're using professional products, they'll be more inclined to support. Also, if the stylist working from home knows that they can tap into these resources to help them build up, then you'll have more successful businesses and you'll see more growth rate. But if they don't know, then they're just going to continue doing what's familiar to them and what's been going on the last 70 odd years. Noted. Yeah, thanks for that. The next point, we're actually getting into some regional variations. There's the report is highlighting that there's different growth rates and challenges across different regions. So some areas have shown greater resilience since the pandemic. So for example, Black British, Caribbean and African communities in the East Midlands salons they have actually been the most resilient since the pandemic. The least resilient, it's in Greater London. So 9 out of 10 of the fastest declining postcodes are in Greater London. So there's a real difference there. I mean, kind of normally you think, oh yeah, the big cities, capital city, it's having an influx of money and growth and people have more spending power there. But what's going on with this one?
That's a really interesting one. When I looked at that, actually, I was like, okay, let me see, because I'm in the East Midlands, so maybe it's the fact that I'm in the East Midlands, but there aren't many salons in this area that cater for Afro-textured hair. There's not many. And so the communities that are here don't have much choice to go to. So most of them will go to mine and the other salons that are dotted around. Whereas in Greater London, because of the cost of living, there are more salons that you can go to, and the cost is probably a little bit higher. Maybe that's why, I'm assuming, I'm making that assumption. It'd be interesting to actually know.
I know. We need to get some of the NHBF on.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. But I think it's a demographic and a location of where.
In my head, I was like, is it people that have just left Greater London? More people have left in the cost of living crisis because they can work from home. They're like going back to their homes, or they're getting cheaper rent in Zone 10 or whatever.
That's quite a significant point, actually, because living in Northampton, we're quite central. We have a great commute on the train. It's less than an hour. So we have a lot of people that have moved from London because of house prices. They're getting bigger homes, less price, but also able to commute and work from home. So there possibly is that as well, moving away from London to be able to afford to live, basically, and have a better living experience, but have access to the cities as and when they want. So possibly it is that.
So I guess you could commute 1 or 2 days a week, and then I know there's a huge increase. Salons, I always hear from salons saying it's the lunch hour appointments, it's the weekday appointments for us now, because people are working from home or working from salon. And it's kind of changed that whole big Saturday weekend, let's go into the city to get our culture.
That's right. And some people are visiting salons less as well. So
of course, that is a factor. Well, our fifth and final focus area was about survival rates, which we have touched on already. So it's been shown by the report that hair and beauty salons in white ethnic areas have shown a higher probability of surviving past their 3rd anniversary, while Black, British, Caribbean and African outlets face lower survival rates. So as you've already said, very obviously, businesses need support and help in order to change anything. So
they need support and help from the ground up, and I think it's getting real intricate and finding out exactly what's happening. And until we go there, we're not going to know as much as we need to get a bigger picture. But from my experience myself, I know that I have been able to grow and sustain the business till now because of my attitude towards the business. So I will take myself and go to the events. Like I said, I will spend thousands of pounds, like many hairdressers do, to invest in my education. You have brand support and collaboration. So if you, like we said earlier, you've got colour houses that will come in and do education on the colour, your product for blow drying and all of these kind of things. They will come in and assist you and get feedback from you. What is it that you need? What do you think about these products? How can we improve? So if you don't have that, it's quite hard to build on your business and to allow it to grow. And if you're not having relationships with educators and the colleges to get apprentices and to help grow your business, it's going to be very hard to move. And if you look at the barbers, for example, they are flying. Barbers are opening up around the country so quickly because they are actually getting people in, upskilling them, and then they open more barbers. So it's, you see the movement there. But with the Afro, Black communities, Asian communities, we definitely need more support from the industry, if it's finance, the government support to educate and to help them grow within their communities by reaching out to the communities. That is definitely what we need to be looking at from now moving on. And then you'll find a lot of more integration within the salons that don't have access to the education and not having Black and Asian members of staff joining them. So it's all intertwined and it's all of that. But the report is great and gives us the data to see what's happening with that evidence and factual evidence to then go and do a little bit more. So it's amazing to see it.
Brilliant. Yeah, and hopefully people will be watching this, or they can come. Let's do a cheeky plug to
let's do it
live, which is at Salon International this very weekend. So please do get your tickets. The business live seminars, where Erica will be on the panel and we'll be talking about this very report and your own experiences. And that is it on the Sunday?
It's on the Sunday the 15th at 10:30. It will be myself, it will be Paige Lewin, who's the founder of Texture Talks podcast, and Rio Agawatt, who is the technical educator for Revlon Professional. So we're going to be looking at the report and giving our experiences and how we can help move forward and grow this area to support the communities that are lacking in the trends and growth in the UK.
Well, so if anyone is watching this, whether you're a stylist, whether you work for a product company, whether you're in the industry but not necessarily a hairdresser, it does definitely get it on your list to come and see.
Definitely come and see, ask the questions, and just to find out a little bit more like how you can be involved in helping with this area of hairdressing, because there are many hairdressers out there that may not know how to approach this subject or how to get involved. But if you come, then we can have the discussion and we can take it from there. Well,
it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And I was about to say this morning again, I keep doing that now, this afternoon. Still feels like the morning.
It's Monday, it's fine. It's fine.
If anyone does have any questions, please pop them in the comments below and we'll keep checking on it. And I'm sure if we pass anything on to Erica, she can assist with her expertise. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. It was a real great pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Bye, Erica.
Bye.